Chapter 1285. Lin Cheng was quite famous outside. Since Yi Yan and Yi Lu hadn't participated in the competition, people didn't know much about them. However, Lin Cheng participated every year, his ranking also gradually rising, his reputation also growing, becoming a well-known figure in deity institution's younger generation. However, Lin Cheng felt like this wasn't much. Since the two siblings weren't participating, it wouldn't matter even if he got first place. Seeing Lin Cheng walk over, Yi Yan wanted to roll his eyes. Even Yi Lu wanted to turn around and leave. This isn't being impolite, it's just that I'm really already numb to it. Because the difference in strength is right here, I really don't want to dampen the enthusiasm of others. After all, I'm a child that was born at the finish line. This world is just so unfair, there's nothing I can do about it. Reincarnation is also a skill. In fact, he could even guess what Lin Cheng would say next. He would definitely say it. I will definitely win against you. Definitely. I want everyone to see the strength of my forest city. Lin Cheng looked at the siblings in front of him and said in a deep voice, "This courtyard. It's not just the two of you. And my forest city." The siblings had to praise Lin Cheng for being such a persistent man. But I can't say praising words. If I say it out, other people will think that I am looking down on them. For the two siblings, there were only two opponents this time. Only Dong Huang Li and God Yi. I don't really care about the others. I'm looking forward to your performance, Yi Lu said as he looked at Lin Cheng. Lin Cheng turned around beautifully. At this moment, a light breeze blew, causing Lin Cheng's black robes to flutter. He had the demeanor of a hero. All right, everyone has left, Yi Lu said softly. Yi Yan shrugged his shoulders. I feel that this will show more boldness. When Lin Cheng loses, he will feel more at ease. All right, let's go back. We should be able to see Big Sister and Big Brother tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. It would be great if Mom and Dad could come too. On the other hand, Yi Yan hoped that his parents would come over. At that time, they would be able to see his elegance and would definitely praise him. However, Yi Yan felt that his father was so busy that he probably wouldn't come. Even if he didn't come, he had to go all out. After all, the news here would also reach his father's ears. Yi Lu sighed. It was for the best. The entrance of Maple Forest was a city specially built by the organizing committee. In fact, it was just like a village. Even the inn was made of wood and was very simple. Once again, it showed how stingy the committee was. Although it was a bit stingy, but the necessary facilities still existed, and the scale was still very big. After all, the number of people that came to watch the battle was huge, therefore, the inns were all overcrowded. Those who didn't manage to book a room could only go to the open air. Facing such a situation right now, Yi Hua's originally good mood turned into a bad mood. Letting me stay in such a place is already giving me enough face, and to actually say that I don't have a reservation. Walking on the street, the group of people attracted a lot of attention. Just that, the group seemed to be a bit curious, that's all. Because Yi Hua and the others had changed their attire, and even their appearances had changed a little. Yi Hua wanted to secretly take a look at the children's achievements. He didn't want to be discovered by the children too quickly. Both Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji agreed to Dong Huang Baiji's suggestion. After all, they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, and it was time for them to see their children's achievements. As for the others, they had also changed a little. Although they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, the children could still recognize these subordinates. The group of people dressed up as ordinary merchants, and all of the subordinates were guards. Yi Hua was naturally the boss, and there was no problem with this kind of disguise. However, in this place, Yi Hua's position didn't seem to be very high. After all, this was a place where experts gathered, and ordinary people were unable to be accepted. "Let's find a place and have a meal," Yihua said faintly as he walked towards a shop at the side. Saying that it was a shop was a bit of an exaggeration. In actuality, it was just a straw shed, and the business was very good. Adding up the group, there were more than 20 people. They looked rather scary, especially Tsang Konghong. He was tall and strong, and had a fierce look on his face. Yihua walked into the straw shed and directly sat down. When the boss saw the group of people, he hurriedly walked over with a smile. "Boss, this place has already been booked. I am truly sorry." "Booked again? I'm here to see the children. Do you really have to make my good mood so irritable?" "Sit," Yihua said faintly. The group of fierce subordinates sat down in the surroundings. This was definitely a situation where they were going to cause trouble. The boss clearly felt that this group of people was here to cause trouble. However, the boss still smiled apologetically and said, "Boss, this place has truly been booked, and, boss, if you want to cause trouble, this is the worst choice." "What is there to eat?" Yihua asked faintly. The smile on the boss's face gradually disappeared. "These people look just like ordinary people, just that they are slightly rich. They really think that I am someone important. This place is managed by the South Organizing Committee, no matter how powerful you are. If you cause trouble today, you will be punished in the future." Threat. For so many years, I didn't step out of the door, and the moment I stepped out, I was threatened. "Let me have a look," Yihua said lightly as he took a look at the blood demon. The blood demon immediately understood. He stood up and walked towards the stove, and Luo Ho followed behind the blood demon. After all, the blood demon was just an ordinary person, and Luo Ho had to protect him. Furthermore, the blood demon's culinary skills were currently top-notch. Even if I wanted to eat it, I wouldn't be able to. Now that I have the chance, how can I let it go? "What are you all doing? You all are too daring." The two waiters pointed at the blood demon and said while trembling with fear. The people who were eating at the side were a bit surprised. Are these people really not afraid, or are they just courting death? Luo Ho immediately knocked the waiters unconscious, and the blood demon took out a white coat from God knows where and put it on. Then, the blood demon started carefully choosing the ingredients. The subordinates looked at the blood demon and swallowed their saliva. Other than being able to taste the blood demon's culinary skills during Chinese New Year, they basically wouldn't be able to eat the blood demon's culinary skills. Today, whoever dares to disturb the blood demon's cooking is equivalent to becoming our enemy and courting death. The boss pointed at the crowd and shouted, "Good job all of you, just you all wait. I will go and report to the organizing committee right now and chase you all out." After finished speaking, the boss ran away. Yihua didn't stop the boss. I, the Supreme Overlord, planned to come here in a low-profile manner and bring the children home. It is you all who made me unhappy. Also, that whatever chairman meeting, everything needs to be booked. Why didn't you just give me a phone number to book? It is obvious that you all are looking down on me. This is making me feel very troubled. Yihua, go and fetch the children, don't cause too much trouble. Qingye said in a low voice. She also didn't want other factors to appear during the reunion. Chapter 1286. Yihua remained silent. Whether or not this matter would blow up would depend on the other party's attitude. Don't you know that the people sitting around me are all people who kill without batting an eye? They can raise this place to the ground in a matter of minutes. Moreover, these subordinates had not seen blood for a long time. Blood demon's cooking speed was very fast. Even if it was the most ordinary ingredients, blood demon would still be able to cook at the fastest speed possible. After all, his honor was hungry. Under the premise of ensuring the speed, his honor also had to ensure the quality. These were the most important things. I can't be too careless. Very soon, a fragrant smell wafted out, and Yihua felt much more comfortable. However, just now, Yihua had also heard that the people at the table beside him were discussing about the children. Hearing those people praising the children, Yihua was rather happy. However, the good situation didn't last long, and he immediately started to ridicule them. This caused the corners of Yihua and the others' mouths to twitch slightly. Did you guys know that bloodline break sect's Dong Huangli is a destruction king? When the people from bloodline break sect saw Dong Huangli, it was as if they had seen a ghost. What does this count as? Deity institutions Yi Yen, that is but a top-level scum. I heard that he already harmed over 1,000 older sisters, even causing people to lose their lives. He really is a super scumbag. That Yi Lu is still okay. I heard that Pulse Break sect's God Yi is pursuing a girl. I wonder if it's true. Hearing those words, Donghuang Baiji immediately went into a daze. My son is actually chasing after a girl. Is God Yi hitting on a girl? How was this possible? Even Yihua was quite shocked after hearing that. With God Ye's personality, would he take the initiative? That girl must be very outstanding. However, Qingya's expression was a bit bad, because just a moment ago, she heard that her son was actually harming a big sister, and it had even reached a terrifying 4 digits. He even killed someone. This little bastard is actually even more powerful than his father. Your father has harmed 4 people, and you have harmed 4 people. You are much more powerful than your father. However, right when Yihua was thinking, this Yen is actually so fierce. Not bad, not bad. As my children, the more the better. When the time comes, I will be able to sow the seeds and let my bloodline envelop the entire world. I'm so mad. It's all your fault, Yen has been led astray. Qingya said angrily, pushing all of the blame onto Yihua. Yihua said disapprovingly, he's a man after all, what's wrong with finding a few women? Is there a problem? Qingya, is this how you teach your child? Qingya said while panting with rage. The child is completely being led astray by you. Qing Yutong and Qian Yuqing were thinking, if I have a child, I definitely can't let Yihua teach the child is too terrifying. Is there anything wrong with what I have taught you? Yihua said faintly, not feeling that there was anything wrong with what he had taught. Qingya didn't want to argue with Yihua about this, moreover, they were outside right now, and there were still her subordinates around. Yihua had an unhappy look on his face. The child is already so big, and he already has his own thoughts. What are you blindly worrying about him for? You are being soft-hearted. Donghuang Baiji mumbled, this child God Yi actually took the initiative to chase after a girl. I really want to see just how outstanding that girl is. Since Shen has taken a liking to that girl, she can't be that bad. Yihua said faintly. After going through Yi's matter, Yihua had already tossed aside the idea that the two of them were well matched in terms of social status. As long as the two of them liked each other, it would be fine. Some things can only be understood after experiencing it. Now that I think about it, I still feel a bit remorseful. I really can't wait anymore. Donghuang Baiji seemed to be very excited. I actually have a daughter-in-law, my God. When the time comes, even my grandson is born, and I am going to be a grandmother, haha. While Donghuang Baiji was happy, Qingya was depressed. My son is actually a scumbag. He is the same as his father, a scumbag. Suddenly, more than 10 people came to the outside of the straw shed, and the boss was among them. The person leading the group was a man. Qing Yutong looked at the man and immediately recognized him. Isn't this man? 12 years ago. I summoned Daji, and in the end, Daji acknowledged me as her brother-in-law. It's precisely this man, Feng Yun. This man was precisely Feng Yun who had swallowed his anger and humiliation for many years. After so many years had passed, there was a very deep pit in Feng Yun's heart, and that pit was that the first orange card that he had nurtured actually acknowledged someone else as his master. Damn it, but now, the little wimp that he had summoned back then had already become an orange card, and furthermore, he was standing right beside me, looking at the man in front of me, and the woman beside him. Why do I feel that this scene is so familiar? Feng Yun did not recognize Yi Hua and the others. After all, Yi Hua's appearance had changed, but his temperament did not change. This was what made Feng Yun think back to that time. This scene is so familiar. Back then, we also sat like this. However, today is still the same, but today, I am already different from the past. Look at the people beside me. 1 orange card. 3 purple cards. And 8 top-notch blue cards. With this kind of lineup, I am already able to sweep away everyone. Chapter 1287. Feng Yun was still unaware of the situation, and even the system was still silent, completely unaware of the situation. Speak. You audacious people actually dared to cause trouble here. You're simply too full of yourself. Damn it. At this time, Feng Yun shifted the anger of the past to the present, and the anger in his heart burned to the peak. The subordinates that were sitting at the side all stood up and looked at Feng Yun. Although they did not emit any pressure, Feng Yun immediately felt that his heart was about to split open, even if the air was filled with the smell of blood. Feng Yun shook his head. What was wrong with him? He was actually frightened by the other party's aura. They were clearly just ordinary people, yet they were able to give off such a terrifying aura. Seemingly feeling that he had lost face, Feng Yun's complexion didn't look too good. He made up his mind to kill these people. Attack. Feng Yun shouted coldly. It was as if Feng Yun could already see the people in front of him wailing in pain, blood flowing all over the ground, and then begging for mercy, asking him to forgive their arrogance. At this moment, Blood Demon came over with the first dish and said respectfully, "Boss, the dish is ready." Yi Hua looked at the stir-fried meat in front of him, and his appetite came. He picked up the chopsticks and took a bite. The texture was still as good as before. When Feng Yun saw that these people actually still have the mood to discuss stir-fried meat, Feng Yun was simply about to explode from anger. What are you waiting for? Do it. Feng Yun had already lost his usual demeanor as he shouted at his subordinate. There's no way to evoke the hatred in my heart. However, the person behind Feng Yun stood in the same place, his expression a little slack, as if he had lost his mind. Feng Yun turned around to look at his subordinates, his angry eyes mixed with confusion. What had happened to them? Do it. Have you all lost your minds? Feng Yun shouted in a deep voice. The people who were eating at the side were also puzzled. This is the famous Lord Feng of the organizing committee, and I heard that all of his subordinates are powerful experts. Why is it now? Qing Yutong didn't expect that the current system would actually be so powerful, to actually be able to retrieve the data of the characters that other people summoned out. That was way too awesome. What are you doing? Feng Yun angrily shouted. He felt his face burning. These obedient subordinates had actually rebelled one by one. Paw! A purple card at the side raised its hand and slapped Feng Yun, causing him to be dumbfounded. The slap was very loud, but it was not very powerful. This sudden situation caused everyone in the surroundings to be stupefied. What's going on? Lord Feng's subordinate actually slapped Lord Feng. This slap sounds very resounding. Paw! An orange card beside him suddenly gave him a slap. The orange card's strength was above Feng Yun's. This slap caused Feng Yun's teeth to fall out. Feng Yun covered his face and looked at his orange card. This was the orange card that had been with him for 12 years. Today, it actually rebelled. How could this be? What was wrong with them? Did they take the wrong medicine? Just as Feng Yun was feeling puzzled, the blue card actually surged forward and pushed the dumbfounded Feng Yun to the ground. Then, it abused him to its heart's content. The orange card and purple card would occasionally give him a few kicks from the side. It seemed to be very exciting. Feng Yun protected his face and shouted out loudly in his heart, crashing, currently rebooting, crashing, currently rebooting, crashing, currently rebooting. Hearing this cold and despairing voice, Feng Yun's heart turned cold. Why did it become like this? At this time, Feng Yun looked at Yi Hua from the corner of his eyes and suddenly discovered that the corner of Yi Hua's mouth was slightly curved. This curve made Feng Yun recall that back then, that man's mouth also had this kind of curve. Damn it! Feng Yun shouted out angrily and sent the blue card beside him flying. His entire body turned into a sharp sword and directly attacked towards Yi Hua, who was currently eating. A fierce aura engulfed the entire maple forest valley. This is actually the aura of a Dodi, so powerful. Facing such a powerful Dodi, Yi Hua continued to eat his stir-fried meat. A figure suddenly blocked in front of Yi Hua. At the same time, the figure erupted with the strength of a Dozun. Just that aura alone was enough to send Feng Yun flying. After all, there was a difference of one level. Yi Hua looked towards Qin Yutong. Qin Yutong laughed tenderly. Brother-in-law is still so smart, to be able to see through me in an instant. Yutong, it's almost done. Qin Yi said in a low voice. This person is quite pitiful. It wasn't easy for him to summon an orange card, but he ended up acknowledging Yi Hua. From the looks of it now, he seems to be doing quite well, and yet, he was messed with by Qin Yutong again. Sigh, Yi Hua couldn't help but say, he threatened to kill us. I feel that what Yutong did is still too light. Hearing that, Qin Yi didn't say anything. Recently, I have been quarreling with him frequently this year. Could this be the legendary 7-year itch? However, this 7-year itch seems to have passed already. Forget it, I am taking care of my child today. I don't want to quarrel with you. Qin Yi said in a low voice. Could it be that my menopause is coming? That's why my temper is a bit more violent. Do you think that I want to quarrel with you? Yi Hua said coldly. Humph. In actuality, Qin Yi felt that it was all Yi Hua's fault that Yan turned into such a scumbag. Dong Wang Baiji also quarreled with Yi Hua, but when she heard that her son actually took the initiative to look for a girlfriend, she felt that it was a good thing. Thus, her mood also became better, and she wasn't as irritable as Qin Yi. The miserable shrieks outside were still continuing. Those summoned figures looked as if they had seen their enemy and began beating up Feng Yun without any regard for their lives. Reboot is successful, Master. Following that, those summoned figures finally stopped beating up Yi Hua. Afterward, Yi Hua looked at Feng Yun doubtfully. Feng Yun let out a sigh of relief. I was almost trampled to death. However, just when Feng Yun felt relieved, a foot stepped onto his face, and the beating was still continuing. Crashing. Currently rebooting, crashing. Currently rebooting, crashing. Currently rebooting, I'm going to die. System crashing. About to self-destruct, system crashing. About to self-destruct, system crashing. About to self-destruct, Feng Yun went into a daze. Didn't I just scold you once, and you want to self-destruct? Is your heart that weak? Big brother, don't collapse. If you collapse, I will collapse too. We appeared in this world together, and we said that we will walk to the peak hand in hand. Why do you want to collapse and leave me? Can't you give me a reason? Big brother, I was wrong, alright? In the future, I, Feng Yun, will definitely not scold you anymore. Without you, how am I going to live? Everything that I have right now will become nothing. Don't, suddenly. Feng Yun felt that the beating had stopped. When he opened his eyes, all of his subordinates who were beating him up just now had all disappeared. Chapter 1288. At this moment, Feng Yun was stunned. Although his entire body was in pain, he still rubbed his eyes. System. System. Are you still there? Feng Yun asked blankly. However, there was no longer any response in his mind. Feng Yun's pupils gradually became hollow, all of his strength came from the system. At this moment, countless dukki poured out from his body. This was a very huge dukki, and everyone could feel it, causing them to be very astonished. Why did Lord Feng become like this? He clearly brought people over, but the other party just stood up, and then his subordinates started to rebel. Furthermore, he even punched and kicked Lord Feng, and afterward, he mysteriously disappeared. Just what is going on? Ha, ha 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 ha. Feng Yun, who couldn't take the blows, suddenly let out a crazy laughter. This kind of laughter made people's hair stand on end, because this was a laughter that carried despair. The crazy Feng Yun laughed continuously, and then rushed out. His figure gradually disappeared, and that laughter of despair could still be heard. Qing Yu looked at her sister. Qing Yutong spread out her hands. I didn't know that this would happen either. So, I have to ask my system. Just what is going on? Why did they all disappear? Master, the other party's system seems to have been threatened by my underling, so they chose to remove the binding. Qing Yutong was shocked. You still have underlings? That's right, Master. In any case, I am also the big boss of the system world now. Qing Yutong, no wonder I was told to hug brother-in-law's thigh from the start, so he already had such a plan. This is truly impressive. The boss of the shop swallowed his saliva and secretly took a glance at Yi Hua. I feel that these people are not that easy to mess with. Look at Lord Feng, he is already scared to the point of going crazy. Who would dare to mess with him anymore? The organizing committee probably wouldn't dare to come after receiving such news. The organizing committee is not only stingy, they also bully the weak and fear the strong. They are a typical fence-sitter series. Yi Hua also didn't want to make a big deal out of this. After all, he came to pick up the children, so he should keep a low profile. The place that the children lived in was much higher class. After all, they were the trump cards of both parties. At the same time, they also felt a wave of doqi dispersing, expressing that they were very curious. Although they were curious, the children didn't take it to heart. They were currently preparing for tomorrow's battle. However, the current god Yi was not in the mood at all. Daddy's order was like a mountain, pressing down on him so much that he could not breathe. If it was to fight and kill, it would still be fine. But to ask me to chase after a girl, it is simply too difficult. God Yi was thinking if he should change his target. With that thought in mind, God Yi wanted to slap himself. God Yi was instantly upset. Since when am I a pervert? If you're not a pervert, then what are you? God Yi was a little angry. I've been chasing you for so long, yet you don't give me any face at all. You even call me a pervert. Then I'll do what a pervert should do. Looking at those delicate red lips, God Yi kissed her in front of everyone's eyes. Lu Xian's eyes bulged and stared at God Yi. Meanwhile, God Yi also looked at Lu Xian's charming eyes. Although the two of them were kissing and everyone else had their eyes closed, they were looking at each other. It was as if it was not a kiss, but mainly a look at each other. It was God Yi's first time feeling a kiss. Soft lips with a hint of sweetness. So this is how kissing feels. Not bad, not bad. No wonder Daddy likes to kiss Mommy so much. However, God Yi frowned slightly after a while. A bloody taste spread in his mouth. Pervert! Lu Xian shouted softly, then ran away while covering her face. God Yi wiped his lips. This woman actually bit me. I'm starting to like her a little. Men just like those that they can't get. Those that are easy to get, they won't care. God Yi glanced at the surrounding disciples. The disciples who were watching the commotion immediately turned around, indicating that they did not see anything. Chapter 1289. God Yi kept a straight face and walked toward his room. He would let Lu Xiener have a good look at his muscles tomorrow. On the other side, Yihua didn't plan to stay at any inn. He might as well choose a place within the maple forest and camp there, not to mention, this place was very suitable for couples to date. It was just that the main body had already passed that stage, and had even developed to the stage of quarreling. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't have the mood to coax them anymore. Just let them do whatever they want. Lying on the comfortable recliner, Yihua smoked a cigarette. His subordinates were barbecuing in the back. They had eaten the sumptuous meal made by the blood demon for lunch, but they were still not satisfied. They still wanted the blood demon to barbecue more food. Right now, Yihua was currently thinking about what he should do after bringing the children back. Should he keep the children by his side, or continue to let them roam the world? If Dong Wang Baiji were to continue adventuring outside, Qingye and Dong Wang Baiji would most likely be unwilling to do so. However, Yihua thought in his heart, I reckon that if the children were to stay at home for a period of time, the mother wouldn't be able to take it anymore. As the saying goes, when the children are not around, I miss them. When the children are around, I want them to go out. Yihua let out a light breath, then picked up the wine cup at the side and took a sip. Right now, I, the Supreme Overlord, can really go and become a monk. If it wasn't for them needing me, I, the Supreme Overlord, wouldn't have taken the initiative. What was going on? Where did all the passion from back then go? I, the Supreme Overlord, can't be sick, right? Just thinking about it makes me a little scared. Could it be that there's something wrong with my mind? Do I need to see a therapist? It would be fine as long as he didn't go to the andrology department. Lowering his head to take a look, Yihua let out a breath. Your Honor, the chicken wings that you wanted are ready. Wei Chang walked over with the chicken wings. Yihua took over the chicken wing and turned his head around to take a look. In the past, it was always them who came to deliver things to me, but right now, it was Wei Chang who came to deliver things to me. From this, it could be seen just how inflated these women are. Forget it, I, the Supreme Overlord, do not have the mood to care about this anymore. Just let them do whatever they want. After eating the chicken wing, Yihua's mood became a lot better. Standing up. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then walked towards the darkness. Not long after, Yihua saw a figure. Ren Yao, what are you standing here for? P. Ren Yao giggled and even shook her body. Yihua said faintly, remember to wash your hands. Understood, Your Honor. Ren Yao eagerly ran back. As for washing my hands, that will depend on my mood. Yihua heard a plop sound and turned his head around to take a look. Ren Yao had actually fallen onto the ground and was twitching. Due to Ren Yao's usual behavior, it was very possible that she was just fooling around. Thus, Yihua didn't pay attention to her. However, after walking a few steps, Yihua stopped, turned around, and walked towards Ren Yao. What happened? Yihua asked gravely as he flipped Ren Yao's body over. Ren Yao's face was a bit pale, and even her lips were trembling. Yihua stretched out his palm and emitted out a green halo of light that enveloped Ren Yao within. The green light naturally attracted the attention of the subordinates, and all of them ran over. Your Honor, what's wrong? Zhu Tian asked respectfully. Yihua shook his head and didn't say anything as he looked at Ren Yao, who was acting strangely. For so many years, Ren Yao did not have any abnormal behavior. Yihua feels that. Ren Yao's abnormal behavior is most likely because of the guardian. Gradually, Ren Yao calmed down. However, her face looked as if she had lost too much blood. Yihua waited silently, and his subordinates didn't dare to say anything. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ren Yao opened her eyes, and what entered her eyes were a lot of heads. She was so scared that she crossed her arms around her chest. You all. Don't. What are you thinking about? Yihua shouted coldly, and Renyao immediately stood up. Renyao looked as if she was suffering from hypoglycemia and was on the verge of collapsing. Yihua asked again, what happened just now? Renyao went into a daze. Just now. What happened to me? Nothing much, I just feel a bit dizzy, that's all. Renyao rubbed her head. I really feel a bit dizzy, and I don't remember anything that happened just now. You don't remember anything? Yihua asked. Renyao shook her head, expressing that she really doesn't remember. Yihua let out a breath, then continued walking towards the darkness while smoking his cigarette. The faint sparks gradually disappeared. I feel that his honor is a bit strange. Lai Gu suddenly said. All of the subordinates nodded their heads. In recent years, his honor is indeed a bit strange, he doesn't seem to be very happy. Could it be that it is because of his honor's wife? All of the subordinates shifted their gaze towards the four madams. Qingye and the others pursed their lips. What does this have to do with us? His honor couldn't have an endocrine disorder, right? Qing Su said faintly. As a medical researcher, Qing Su raised his own opinion. Pig liver macaque rubbed onto his chin. If that is really the case, is there any way to treat it? Qing Su said in a deadpan manner, that would definitely require yin and yang to be balanced. I will have to trouble the four madams. Qingye and the others' faces turned red, then turned around and left the scene. However, in the darkness, Yihua, who was hiding behind a tree, silently nodded his head. Not bad, not bad. This Qing Su and Pig Liver Macaque are working together very well. Whether or not I can fly tonight, I will be able to find out in a while. The morning of Maple Forest Valley was a bit cold, but as the sun shone down, it gave off a kind of warmth. Yihua twisted his neck, indicating that he felt comfortable. This trick seems to be not bad, but I can't use it too often, I have to change to another trick. If Qingye were to answer, what is the longest road that you have walked on, then Qingye would definitely say, the longest road that I have walked on, and that is Yihua's trick. Today was the first day of the competition. Yihua woke up very early and was very excited. After all, he was going to be able to see the children very soon. From this point, it could be seen that Yihua's love towards the children was no less than Qingye and the others, just that he didn't show it. Men have different ways of expressing themselves. However, regarding Renyao's abnormality last night, Yihua kept it in his heart. I feel that this year won't be that peaceful anymore. Perhaps, those guardians are starting to take action. However, right now, the children are still the most important. After so many years, I am really looking forward to seeing how the children have grown up. The martial arts competition venue this time is very environmentally friendly, that is, in the air. The martial arts competition venue can be said to be even more environmentally friendly, and the only thing that can be seen is the air. The venue is simply stingy to the extreme. Not using the stage, the seats are just air. Booing sounds could be heard from the scene. This organizing committee is really trash, don't they even have this bit of money? Although we are going to be sitting in the air, from this angle, we are still able to admire the entire Maple Forest Valley. Yihua feels that this arrangement is not bad. Right now, we just have to wait for the children to appear. Qingye and Dongwang Baiji were very nervous, and they were even tightly holding on to Yihua's hands. We have been separated for 12 years. This is not just 12 days, the longing for their mother gushed out like a flood, and even Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt that. Chapter 1290. If the children were to appear now, I would not be able to hold back the longing in my heart and immediately rush up, hug the children, and tell them how much mommy misses you. And your father forbids us to go and watch. Just that, Yihua's current nervousness was no less than theirs. I will be able to see the children soon. The subordinates watched the children grow up, although it was only a short few years, they still missed them a lot. Especially Ali and Yen. They had more contact with the children, while God Yi and Yi Lu had less contact. The children back then have all grown up now. I am really looking forward to it. The number of people who came to watch the battle reached more than 100,000. They sat in layers in the sky, forming a dense mass, everyone. All kinds of seniors. The annual martial arts competition will begin in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. This year is different from the past. Meridian breaks sect. Shin Academy will be sending out their strongest trump card. Just whose trump card will be the strongest, let us wait and see. First. Participants, please come on to the stage. First, Shin Academy. This host is not bad, at least that is what Yihua feels. However, right now, Qingye was a bit more nervous. My son and daughter are both inside the Deity Academy, and I will be able to see them soon. I wonder how they are right now. So excited. I wonder if Yen is what they said. If it is true, I will have to give him a good scolding. Of all people to learn from, why must he learn from your father and become a scumbag? Right now, Yi Yen and Yi Lu were standing at the side of the team. They were naturally the last to appear. Lu, are you nervous? It has been 12 years. You will be able to see big sister and little brother soon. Yi Yen said with a slight smile. Although he wanted to get first place and receive his father's praise, he still had brotherly feelings in his heart. Thinking about his childhood with big sister, Yi Yen revealed a happy smile. Back then, he and big sister went around causing trouble everywhere. I was really happy back then, but as we grew up, it seems that some things can't be done anymore. Big sister is already a big girl now, right? When the time comes, Mom will definitely urge us to get married. And God Ye's little brother, that ice lump, I heard that he is still an ice lump. He did not change at all. It's all right. Yi Lu said lightly. Although she said it was all right, she was actually very happy in her heart. She was going to be able to see big sister and big brother soon. Although they were enemies, she was still very excited. Can't you just open your heart, as expected of the cold goddess? Yi Yen teased. Yi Lu rolled her eyes at her brother and snorted. Only to see Deity Institution's disciples gradually walk out, arriving at the center of the competition arena. There weren't that many people, just a dozen or so, all of them Deity Institution's elites. Right now, Yihua and Qingye were closely staring at the scene, looking for their children. Yihua, where are the children? Qingye was anxious as she tightly held onto Yihua's hand. Yihua was also very confused, and even a bit angry. Where did the children go? Yihua looked towards Zhu Tian, seemingly asking, is this your job as an intelligence officer? Zhu Tian immediately lowered his head. What's going on? Why isn't little honor among them? The whole audience booed. The gimmick of this competition was the battle of trump cards. Now that the trump cards had not been seen, they would definitely be unhappy. The host who was standing in the void shouted, "Are you confused? Everyone, don't be anxious. Right now, we have invited 2 young experts from the Deity Institution." Applause. However, there was no applause. The atmosphere was a little stiff, and there was even a hint of nervousness. This was the first time it had been revealed to the world. Yihua and Qingye let out a sigh of relief. So it turns out that the children are going to appear at the finale. 2 figures slowly walked out from the crowd. At this moment, Qingye saw her children, and she immediately covered her face with her hands, and tears of excitement flowed out from her eyes. It has been 12 years. I have finally seen Yen, and Lu, Mom really misses you too. Look at Yen, he has grown taller, so tall, he is even as tall as Yihua now. Furthermore, he looks so handsome. And my own Lu, she is so beautiful. As Qinya cried and cried, Qinya laughed, and after laughing, Qinya cried again. Crying and laughing at the same time is probably how Qinya is described. Yihua looked at the two children, and he was also extremely excited in his heart. However, as the boss, I can't show my emotions, I have to remain calm. This child is almost catching up to me. And Lu, this appearance, as expected of my daughter, I have nothing to say. When the subordinates saw the appearance of the two children, they were all very excited and started whispering to each other. When the surrounding audience saw Yi Yan and Yi Lu, they all cried out in surprise. After all, the appearance of the two children is really too high. However, after Yi Yan opened his folding fan, the entire audience immediately quietened down. Even Qinya, who was crying tears of joy, was dumbfounded. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. Scumbag. Yi Yan liked the current scene very much. Look at me opening my folding fan, these people are all stunned. Just that, Yi Yan was completely unaware that among these people, there was even his father and mother present. If Yi Yan were to know, he would definitely burn the folding fan. This little bastard, he really became a scumbag. Qinya said while panting with anger. Like father, like son, indeed, that saying is true. Although Yi Hua was a bit surprised, he didn't say anything. Scumbag is always better than being scumbagged by others. My children can only be scumbags. Yen is not bad, to be able to comprehend this logic. However, Yi Yan just wanted to say, Dad. I really didn't think that much, I was just purely thinking about scumbags, that's all. However, Donghuang Baiji said lightly, perhaps, Yen received a blow from something, that's why he became like this. Blow? Qinya asked confusedly. Big sister, if Yen was abandoned by a girl and wanted to take revenge, this possibility is still possible. Qing Yutong said. After hearing that, Qinya thought about it carefully. That's possible, my Yen was actually abandoned by a girl. Yihua felt that he had to ask Yen carefully. If Yen was really abandoned by a girl, I will have to properly teach him a lesson. The men of Yi family only know how to abandon others, how can they be abandoned by others? That doesn't exist. Following after Yi Yan and Yi Lu walked onto the stage, the entire audience burst into cheers. Yi Yan waved his folding fan and walked with an uncaring gait, causing Qinya to explode in anger. Even Yihua doesn't know how to walk like this, seems like my son has learned bad things. Look at your son, he has become a bad child now. Qinya said angrily. Yen isn't your son. Yihua said faintly. This caused Qinya to be angered, and she pinched Yihua with all her might. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. I really want to properly teach Qinya a lesson. Qinya is becoming more and more unreasonable. Even if she is going through menopause, she still shouldn't act like this. Next, let's welcome the disciples of Broken Meridian Sect. Dong Huangli and God, you were naturally going to be the finale. Chapter 1291. I'm finally going to see Yen. I heard that Yen has become a scumbag. I'm really curious to see how much of a scumbag Yen has become. Dong Huangli said with a slight smile. Compared to when she was young, Dong Huangli appeared to be a lot more mature. God, he said nothing. In the past, he often thought about competing with his sister, but now he was thinking about how to deal with Lu Xiener and complete his father's mission. Why? Are you still thinking about Xien? I heard from Xien that you kissed her yesterday. God, you replied calmly. Not bad, you have finally improved. You are a man, you should take the initiative. Dong Huangli patted onto her little brother's shoulder. Dong Huangli has finally been enlightened. However, the way you are dressed today, big sister feels that it is a bit unsightly to my eyes. Dong Wangli couldn't help but say. The clothes that little brother is wearing today is actually a camisole. This is simply showing off my muscles. God Yi said in a deep voice, in order to complete Daddy's mission, I have no choice but to go all out. Dong Wangli nearly laughed out loud. When did Daddy have such a mission? You must be the one who came up with this mission yourself, right? Work hard then. Dong Wangli said with a smile. Along with the sound coming from outside, both Dong Wangli and God Yi walked out. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji was very excited, and her actions were exactly the same as Qin Ye's. Both of her hands were covering her cheeks, and tears of joy flowed out from her eyes. My Ali has become so much taller, has become so much prettier, has become so much prettier. Right now, he has become a big beauty, and also has a spirit, so handsome. He is just as handsome as his father, and even that expression of his is exactly the same as his father. But, Shen Er's clothes, why are they so revealing? Yi Hua looked at Ali and smiled. After all, Ali was his first child. Back then, Ali was brought back by the Green and Red brothers. Back then, Ali was only 3 years old. Ali was such an adorable child. In the blink of an eye, my Ali had become a big girl. He couldn't hug Ali like when he was young, and Ali couldn't act like a spoiled child in his arms like when he was young. God Ye's child's personality was actually so similar to the deities. However, this attire, the Supreme Overlord, look at you, why do you look so much like a gay? All the subordinates were attracted by God Ye's attire. That was too fashionable. It didn't seem to be mainstream. It was not just Yi Hua and the others, but the entire audience was looking at God Yi as well. His attire was indeed a little weird. Even Lu Xiener took a few more glances at God Yi. Could this guy have suffered some kind of blow? God Yi noticed Lu Xiener's gaze. As expected, this woman likes muscular men. She's fallen for it. Right now, Yi Hua was sighing in his heart. My 2 sons, one of them turned into a scumbag, and the other turned into a gay. I, really, want to beat the shit out of the 2 of them. Luckily, my 2 daughters are still considered normal. Right now, Dong Huangli felt that there was an unusual gaze on her, and she used her gaze to look over. Immediately, he was startled in his heart. This man, could he be my father? It feels so familiar, and the woman beside me, could it be that she is my mother? And those people behind me. Every single one of them is very familiar to me. Dong Huangli hurriedly retracted her gaze. Dong Huangli was a bit nervous in her heart. Although I'm not very sure, I'm at least 90% sure. Father and mother are here. He definitely came to look at my achievements during these few years. Looking at her brother's attire, Dong Huangli felt that she was finished. Very soon, Dong Huangli and God Yi walked to the front. The 4 children finally met, but they only nodded in greeting. Although I really want to go over and hug them, I'm not allowed to do that right now. Dong Huangli looked at Yi Yan. This little brother, when we were young, he was my follower. Look at him now, he is so handsome, and he is even taller than big sister. Little brother, father and mother are at the scene, you are really courting death. Yi Yan looked at his big sister and had a smile on his face. When we were young, big sister brought your little brother to act cool, and in the future, little brother will bring big sister to act cool. Yi Lu looked at her big brother God Yi. When we were young, we would often spar with each other, and there had never been a victor. The victor is about to be decided. It's just that big brother's attire today is indeed a bit of an eyesore, compared to back then, there is a huge difference. God Yi looked at his little sister Yi Lu, and battle intent immediately appeared in his heart. As a big brother, how can I lose to my little sister? After not seeing each other for so many years, let us reunite through a battle. This time, Big Brother will not go easy on me. Yihua could tell from the children's aura that these little fellows have very strong battle intent. Not bad, the grouping that I made back then was not wrong. These siblings are very harmonious. If I didn't do that back then, Dong Huangli would be close to Yi Yan, and God Yi would be close to Yi Lu. The current situation made them even more united, and it was also within Yihua's expectations. In actuality, Yihua didn't want the children to do any quests, he just wanted the children to have a closer relationship with each other, and not have a gap between them. These things, what do these women know? Next up was the grouping, drawing lots. Of course, it was also possible for the children to draw their own people. After all, infighting had happened before. However, for the strong children, cheating was something that could be done in a matter of minutes. As for the other opponents, the children ignored them. Very quickly, the result of the drawing lots was revealed. God Yi was the first to go up, and his opponent was a disciple from Shen Academy. This made Yi Lu a bit puzzled. What does Big Brother mean by this? He doesn't want to fight with me. Of course, God Yi wanted to fight with Yi Lu, just that, he didn't want to fight with Yi Lu. Rather, he wanted to let Lu Xian'er see just how developed my muscles are, and that I definitely won't let you down. Dong Huangli was also a bit puzzled. She wanted to fight with Yi Yan to see just how much Yi Yan had improved during these few years. However, Yi Yan's opponent was actually one of his own people, Lin Cheng. Yi Yan didn't have any other intentions. After all, he was about to leave. After so many years, this Lin Cheng had always wanted to fight with him, and thus, Yi Yan decided to grant Lin Cheng's wish. Dong Huangli's opponent was changed to Mu Gao. Dong Huangli naturally knew about Mu Gao. Back then, when she had just entered Meridian Break sect, it was precisely this Mu Gao who tested her and her little brother. Dong Huangli naturally knew what Mu Gao meant. All along, Mu Gao had liked me, that's all. It's a pity, you aren't my type. This is also good, in any case, I am going to leave soon, so I might as well let this battle end. You should change to another girl that you like. God Yi seems to be chasing after a girl. For him to dress like this, he couldn't possibly be trying to please a girl, right? Qinya asked curiously. How is that possible? Although so many years have passed, God Yi shouldn't be doing such a thing, right? Dong Huang Baiji felt that this wasn't the case. Does my son look like the kind of man who tries to please a girl? Chapter 1292. Yihua said faintly, how could my son possibly go and try to please a woman? If that is really the case, break his legs. Give it a try. Dong Huang Baiji said. All of his honor's subordinates who were sitting at the back had a slightly strange expression on their faces. This is much more interesting than being in the imperial palace. His honor and his honor's wife's quarrel is especially interesting. At that moment, Qinya's eyes were on the Meridian Break Sex team and she noticed Lu Xian'er's existence. Compared to the other girls, Lu Xian'er was still more outstanding. Therefore, Qinya guessed in her heart that the girl God Yi liked might be her. From the looks of it, he was a good match for God Yi. He had a good temperament and a good height. Baiji, look at that girl. Does God Yi like her? Qinya asked Lu Xian'er. Dong Huang Baiji looked towards Lu Xian'er. Dong Huang Baiji felt that this girl was not bad, right? However, she was merely not bad. After all, Dong Huang Baiji was a mother. Dong Huang Baiji still had some requirements for her daughter-in-law. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji did not understand Dong Huang Baiji. What do you think? Qinya asked curiously. That depends on the girl's personality. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly. The relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law was still very important. Qinya nodded her head. Indeed. Since my Yen is looking for a wife, I have to take a look at her too. But by the looks of right now, it seemed like she was having a headache as well. Yihua naturally heard the conversation between the two women and looked towards Lu Xiener. If it was in the past, Yihua would definitely look down on Lu Xiener. However, after experiencing the incident with Yihua had gotten over it. As long as the children like Lu Xiener, it would be fine. As long as the children like Lu Xiener, it would be fine. These parents were all sizing up Lu Xiener. However, Lu Xien had no idea that she had been targeted. The first battle was God Ye's turn. The audience was looking forward to God Ye's performance to see if it was as the rumor said. If it was not, they would be booing. God Ye's opponent was a disciple from Deity Institution, but that disciple was currently a little afraid. Why was his luck so good to actually encounter Meridian Break Sect's #1 expert? However, as the #1 expert, how could he dress like this? It was really unbecoming of the #1 expert. Even though he had lost his composure, this disciple was still very fearful. Begin. Following the referee's command, the battle between the two sides immediately began. However, God Yi suddenly let out an angry roar, and a noble spirit swept through the scene. He clenched his fists tightly, and the muscles all over his body began to gradually expand. However, he had no intention of attacking, giving off the impression that he was teasing others. The disciple stood foolishly in the void, looking at God Yi in front of him while fiddling with his muscles. What was the meaning of this? Could it be that the #1 expert of the Meridian Breaking sect was trying to seduce him? Why did he do that? Or was it because he was a homosexual? Not only this disciple, but many others felt the same way. My jaw is about to drop to the ground. The martial arts competition has already started, and even after 10 seconds, you are already fiddling with your muscles, or perhaps you are squirming your muscles, acting for the man in front of you to see. The #1 expert of the Meridian Breaking sect really lived up to his reputation. Dong Huangli looked at her younger brother's current appearance and covered her face with her hand. This idiot, do you really have to be so brazen? Daddy and Mommy are both at the scene, are you going to be slapped to death? Even if you want to wiggle your muscles, you don't have to be so obvious. Lu Xiener looked at God Yi with her eyes and mouth wide open. He said that he likes me, but I'm so angry. At that moment, Yi Yan and Yi Lu were both dumbfounded. When did God Yi become like this? It's so exciting, this idiot's attributes are full of comical, awesome. Dong Wang Baiji clenched her fists tightly, wishing that she could tie up her son and bring him back. What is he doing? When did he become like this? The subordinates were also dumbfounded. If God Yi was given an iron rod, he would definitely be able to dance. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes. As expected of my son, this coquettishness is really bursting. At that moment, God Yi secretly glanced at Lu Xien, and realized that the other party was looking at him. She was dumbfounded. Big sister was right, Lu Xien likes muscular men. This vulgar woman doesn't have any inner qualities at all. However, that doesn't matter, all I have to do is complete my father's mission. However, the mission is not complete yet, I still have to work hard. Suddenly, God Yi made his move. Everyone cried out in surprise. The #1 expert of Broken Pulse sect finally made his move. The other party actually did not react at all, too fast. Too fast. However, in the next second, everyone was dumbfounded. God Yi made a striking posture, revealing the lines of his muscles. This time, he was even more like this disciple. This made everyone feel that God Yi was trying to gain this disciple's favor. The disciple looked at God Yi, and his scalp felt a little numb. He was showing off his biceps, and he even showed me his shark lines. My God, why do I feel like vomiting? Yi Hua. Don't stop me, I want to go and beat this stinking brat up. Dong Huang Baiji immediately went berserk. This is simply throwing my face into outer space. Even without Yihua teaching me a lesson, I want to beat this stinking brat up myself. Let's watch first. Yihua said indifferently. Qingye pulled Dong Huang Baiji down as well. God Yi is a sensible child, he wouldn't do this for no reason. All of the subordinates felt that, if that is the case, then his honor, the disciple couldn't take it anymore and immediately threw a punch at God Yihua. Everyone, quickly look. Shen Academy's disciple actually made his move. Although his speed and strength aren't that great, the strange God Yi actually didn't dodge. Is this the power of love, or is it some other factor? Let us wait and see. The host said with an excited tone. Dong Huang Baiji wished that she could twist the host's head off. The power of love. The punch landed ruthlessly on God Ye's abdomen. However, God Ye took this opportunity to show off the muscles on his back. He thought to himself that from Lu Xiener's angle, she should be able to see it clearly. I am also a muscular man. Although my muscles aren't very inflated, it is definitely comfortable to look at. Who asked you to be a superficial woman? There's no helping it. Quickly look. Broken Pulse Sex God Yi chose to receive the punch, then made a strange posture. Look at the lines of his muscles. Could it be that God Yi is planning to use his own body to confuse the enemy? Looks like he has already reached the highest realm of martial arts, fighting with his brain. Yihua, Dong Huang Baiji said angrily. How is this using his brain? He has no brain. Chapter 1293. Baiji, calm down. Our sons are not easy to deal with. Qingye let out a long sigh. Fortunately, my two daughters are still considered to be normal people, and this can be considered as a kind of consolation for me. Yihua will definitely have to take the blame for my son becoming like this. Right now, Yihua didn't want to make any statement. I'll say it after I finish looking at it. Dong Huangli turned her head around and took a peek at Lu Xian, and she discovered that Lu Xian, seemed to be about to spit out fire. Huh, what's going on? Now, there was a wave of hissing sounds. They were not satisfied with this kind of battle. This was simply like playing house, there was not the slightest bit of interest. However, God Yi did not care at all. Compared to the mission, some mockery was nothing. He would teach them a lesson in the future. How dare you mock me, God Yi? He could only repent for today's mistakes in hell. I admit defeat. Just as God Yi was about to show off his abdominal muscles, the disciple finally could not take it anymore. The other party actually used such a tactic to make him surrender. It was simply despicable. Damn it. The audience was silent. The host finally reacted and shouted, "Congratulations to Meridian Break Sex God Yi for taking the first victory." He defeated his opponent with his own muscles, preventing him from fighting normally. As expected of Meridian Break Sex trump card, he's so powerful. Everyone, God Yi looked at the disciple in front of him, and the latter immediately shrank back. Run now. No one expected that under God Ye's frenzied bombardment, this disciple would actually flee in defeat, which caused a loud roar of laughter. The faces of Shen Academy's side were gloomy, and so were the meridian-breaking sects. Just when everyone thought it was over, God Yi suddenly pointed at Lu Xiener. This action caused everyone to stop talking. Yihua and the others looked at God Yi. This little bastard has done quite a lot of things today. For so many years, is this the kind of report card you show me? It's a straight fail. Lu Xian, Don't you like muscular men? Have you been conquered by my muscles? You don't need to tell me. I understand that girls should be more reserved. From now on, you are my woman. God Yi shouted loudly, which made Lu Xiener feel like she had lost her soul. She had no idea where she was or what her name was. When? She liked muscular men, but he actually said in front of so many people that she was his woman. How dare he destroy his own reputation? You even made yourself sound so vulgar. Liking muscular men. You're the one liking muscular men. Facing his son's confession, Yi Hua and the others were very surprised. This girl is really someone that God Yi likes. Furthermore, his actions just now were just to gain the girl's favor. Oh my God, Dong Huang Baiji didn't know why, but Dong Huang Baiji let out a sigh of relief. As long as my son doesn't go in another direction, everything will be fine. So it turns out that Dong Huang Baiji is only acting in front of a girl. Yi Lu looked at her big brother and tightly wrinkled her eyebrows. Big brother actually confessed to me in this kind of situation. Is this still the big brother that I knew in the past? Why was he so flirtatious? No wonder he didn't want to fight with me in the first round. So that's what he wanted. He's really like my brother, a scumbag. Yi Yan felt that right now, this younger brother of his will be able to catch up to me. To actually confess to me on the spot, and furthermore, it was very domineering. TSK, TSK, TSK. Impossible. At that moment, the host laughed loudly. It seems that our expert did it on purpose just now. He wanted to show off his muscles in front of the girl he loves. It turns out that this girl likes muscular men. That's why God Yi is dressed like this. I have to say, it takes a lot of courage to dress like this on such an occasion. This Lu Xian is really lucky. Don't you think so? Yi Yan shouted out loudly, that's right, give her a kiss. Yi Yan really knows how to lead the crowd. Following Yi Yan's shout, everyone started shouting out as well. Very quickly, it became 100,000 people shouting out loudly. Lu Xian was really unable to handle this kind of situation. A smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. My son is not bad, his method of chasing after girls is really unique. Brother-in-law, look at God Yi, he's so good at being romantic. Qing Yutong suddenly said softly at the side. Qian Yuqing pursed her lips. Yi Hua seems to have never treated me like this before. Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji recalled. This fellow doesn't seem to have ever treated me like this before. Look at your son, he's so much stronger than you. Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but say. Yi Hua didn't say anything. We're already an old couple, why do we still want to be romantic? On the stage, God Yi slowly landed in front of Lu Xian. However, right now, Lu Xian's face was completely red. Don't misunderstand, this was not caused by shyness, this was caused by anger. Dong Huangli let out a light sigh. At this crucial moment, I still need big sister to help you. After all, Daddy and Mommy are both here. If Lu Xian were to reject little brother at this moment, Daddy might not be happy. No matter what, Lu Xian is sleeping in the same room as me. With so many years of feelings, how could Daddy bear to reject her? Thus, with a light push of his palm, Lu Xian immediately felt a force pushing her from behind, pushing her into God Ye's embrace. In the eyes of others, this kind of situation looked like she was taking the initiative. God Ye was astonished. So I was tricked. This woman's tricks are so deep, to actually play hard to get, forget it, forget it. You've been wanting to do this for a long time, right? God Yi said softly. Lu Xian was currently in a daze. She had no idea what was going on at all, and she didn't even hear what God Yi said. However, that seemed to be a tacit agreement. Everyone, I didn't expect that God Yi would be able to hug the beauty. Furthermore, the beauty seems to be taking the initiative. Let us congratulate them. Yi Hua applauded. Not bad, it's just like me back then. God Yi held on to Lu Xian's shoulder, then waved at everyone. Lu Xian was dumbfounded. Dong Huangli revealed a smile. Brother, big sister can only help you this much, you idiot. Yi Lu was also feeling happy for her brother. Not bad. Yi Yan had a smile on his face. It was unknown whether he was envious or not. However, the competition continued. At that moment, Yi Hua said faintly, "What do you guys think of this girl?" "We'll see." Dong Huang Baiji was the first to express her opinion. After all, she was her daughter-in-law. Qingye said softly, "I feel that as long as she listens to God Yi, there shouldn't be much of a problem. There's nothing wrong with big sister's words, after all, girls have to be obedient." Qing Yutong agreed. However, at that moment, Yi Hua interrupted, "Oh. You actually know about the principle of women having to be obedient?" The four women rolled their eyes at the same time. "That's not directed at you, alright. However, I feel that this girl won't be too bad. Since God Yi has taken a fancy to her, she should have something special about her, right?" Qian Yuqing raised her opinion. "Yuqing is right." Yi Hua supported Qian Yuqing's opinion. Chapter 1294. Your Honor, do you want subordinate to go and take a look? The pig-livered Denglong who was sitting at the back asked respectfully. Yi Hua said faintly, "Forget it, there's nothing much to investigate. Identity and whatnot isn't important, it's fine as long as the person is good." Everyone was speechless, seemingly thinking of Yi from 12 years ago. The atmosphere was a bit sentimental. This kind of thing only happened once. There was no need for it to happen a second time. Now that his younger brother was about to return, he didn't know if he could keep it a secret. Even if he could satisfy him for a while, he couldn't keep it a secret for a long time. However, now that little brother knew that he had a son, he should be happy. That Gong Yu also had it hard. She had raised a child by herself for 12 years and had always been well behaved. Time could explain a person very well. Gong Yu could be considered a good woman. If I, the Supreme Overlord, were to leave for 12 years, wouldn't Qingye and the others die from complaining? Sigh. I can't even compare myself with them. Very quickly, it was Yi Yan's turn. His opponent was naturally Lin Qing. As Yi Yan walked onto the stage, as his father, Yi Hua naturally had to properly watch the match. How do you guys think Little Honor will win? Lai Gu, who was sitting at the back, asked curiously. Instant kill, Wei Chang said softly. Yi Zizi propped up her chin and said calmly, how boring is it to instantly kill your opponent? When Ren Yao, who was at the side, heard what Yi Hua said, she thought to herself, since there is no meaning in insta-killing your opponent, why did you insta-kill me back then? You devil who says one thing but means another. Indeed. There's no meaning in instantly killing your opponent. You have to torture your opponent. Qing Su said indifferently. His body didn't change at all. It seemed like he was addicted to being fat. Do you think everyone is as perverted as you? Pig Liver Ho couldn't help but tease. Qing Su didn't think much of it. If you want to inflict the most painful damage on your opponent, you can't solve the problem in one go. On the other hand, Yi Hua felt that what Qing Su said was quite right. Looking at his son's arrogant expression, Yi Hua let out a light sigh. If one were to ask who had changed the most among the children, it would definitely be Yi Yan. Match, start. Following the referee's shout, the battle between the two began. Yi Hua. Today, I will let everyone know. I, Lin Qing, can defeat you. Lin Qing didn't hold any weapons, but he seemed very confident. He even pointed his index finger at Yi Yan and shouted. Yi Yan waved his folding fan. The two big words on the folding fan were very eye-catching. Of course, there was also the flute at his waist. Lin Qing, you've always wanted to beat me since you were young, but you've never been able to. What's the motivation that has kept you going until now? Yi Yan was a little confused. Generally speaking, if one suffered such a blow when they were young, they would definitely be traumatized. However, this guy wasn't even knocked down. Instead, he worked even harder. But sometimes, hard work might not necessarily be rewarded, and talent is also very important. Just like me, Yi Yan. I am the son of a supreme overlord. From the moment he was born, his life was like a cheat that no one could stop him. Lin Cheng snorted coldly. What motivation? That is the motivation to defeat you. I can't wait for every day to be a little longer, so that I can cultivate a little longer. If you defeat me, what will you get? Yi Yan asked indifferently. Got it. You took away my dignity, I will defeat you. Take back my dignity from your hands. Yi Yan was puzzled. When did I take away your dignity? You can't slander a person like this. This was slander. Slander in front of so many people. This is simply a shameless action. Who likes to take away your dignity? This is such a headache. Lin Cheng, you have to think about what you are saying. I don't have the hobby of taking away other people's dignity. If you say, taking away dignity because I can't defeat you, then how much dignity would I have to take away? Don't be so narrow-minded, be more magnanimous. As a man, you have to be able to pick up and let go. Yi Yan had a look of arrogance as he lectured Lin Cheng. To actually stand on the moral high ground and criticize me, when I was young, I wasn't this shameless. Lin Cheng's expression became sinister. I trained bitterly for so many years, all for this moment. To defeat you in front of so many people, and furthermore, I only used one move. One move. When everyone heard what Lin Cheng said, they all became a bit absent-minded. Although they had never seen Yi Yan's strength before, this Lin Cheng was still a very powerful young man. And yet, he actually said that he only used one move to defeat Yi Yan. It wasn't that he didn't have any credibility. Perhaps, he might really be able to make a comeback and become the dark horse this time, then become famous throughout the world. Hearing Lin Cheng's words, Yi Hua smiled slightly. If you are able to insta-kill Yan or in one move, I, the Supreme Overlord, will take you in as my little brother. Qingye expressed that she was angry. This child is really too arrogant to actually dare to speak such arrogant words. Oh. Really just one move? Yi Yan asked with a surprised look on his face. I didn't expect that after so many years, Lin Cheng would become so arrogant. After winning for a few years, he can become so arrogant. Lin Cheng stood up straight, stared at Yi Yan, and said gravely, this move of mine is specially made for you. It took me 10 years. Today, I can finally use it. What you mean is that you are going to use a big move right from the start. What if you can't kill me with this move? Yi Yan couldn't help but ask. Who would use a big move right from the start? Only newbies would do that. However, Lin Cheng seemed to be very confident. This move of mine is more than enough to make you return in defeat. Lin Cheng, do you know how to play landlord? Yi Yan suddenly changed the topic, catching everyone off guard. After Yi Hua and the others heard what Yi Yan said, they were also very puzzled. Just what is this Yan trying to say? Landlord? Lin Cheng expressed that he did not know. However, Yi Yan did not pay attention to Yi Yan's words. Do you know why the king bomb is always used at the end? This is the same logic as well. Hearing what his son said, Yi Hua went into a daze. Not only Yi Hua, even his subordinates went into a daze. That makes so much sense. Why isn't it the king bomb at the beginning? Rather, it should be used at the end. Little Sovereign actually spoke the truth. Yi Hua felt that Yan did not live these past few years in vain. To actually comprehend the logic behind landlord, not bad, as expected of my eldest son. Qingye felt very helpless. At such a young age, he is already starting to ponder about landlord, and even King Bomb. How am I supposed to teach him? This is so vexing. Hearing that, Lin Qing was also confused. Don't talk about these useless things. Are you afraid in your heart? Are you afraid that you are going to lose to me later? You misunderstood. I am just afraid that you are unable to accept the truth. Hearing Yi Yan's indifferent tone, Lin Qing became very angry. The thing that he disliked the most was Yi Yan's tone. It was as if he was the number one in the world. You will suffer my wrath and stare at my back from the abyss. After finished speaking, Lin Qing shouted out in anger, and Do Qi suddenly erupted from his entire body. Everyone cried out in surprise. This Do Qi actually reached the level of a spirit ancestor. Chapter 1295. Last year, he was only a spirit emperor. In just a short year, he actually reached the spirit ancestor realm at such a young age. In the future, his achievements will be no small matter. This Yi Yan is very dangerous. Towards the true strength that Lin Qing displayed, everyone was very surprised. In actuality, Lin Qing had been keeping a low profile all these years. However, today was the day that he would be showing off. Even Yihua had to admit that this Lin Cheng's talent was indeed not bad. To be able to reach the realm of Dozong at such a young age, among those of the same age, he could be considered as outstanding. However, it was still a pity. After all, Lin Cheng's opponent was his own son. Furthermore, he had to choose Yi Yan as his opponent. This battle was destined to be a losing one. The Duki that erupted from Lin Qing swept across the entire sky. No matter how powerful a Dozong was, they could still change the sky. Just like right now, a layer of black clouds enveloped the sky, giving off a strong sense of oppression. Yi Yan slightly raised his head and looked at the sky, then pursed his lips. What a showy scene. However, when Lin Qing saw Yi Yan's disdainful gaze once again, the anger in his chest increased exponentially, and the pressure on him continued to increase. Everyone. Lin Qing. This is Lin Qing of Shin Academy. To be able to reach the realm of Dozong at such a young age, this is something that we did not expect. However, the trump card of Shin Academy is Yi Yan. I reckon that he is also in the realm of Dozong. It seems like a dramatic scene is about to appear in the internal battle of Shin Academy. Whether it will be a beautiful counterattack or a tragic end, let us wait and see. In Meridian Break Sect's camp, God Yi had already let go of Lu Xian. Meanwhile, Lu Xian's face was currently red. Of course, this was because she was angry. Everyone thought that she was God Ye's woman. This bastard. However, there was still an ordinary youngster in the camp, and that was Mu Gao. He had liked Dong Huangli for a long time. Just now, when he saw that God Ye's confession was successful, he thought to himself, should I also imitate God Ye and confess to Dong Huangli? This Lin Qing is quite something. Dong Huangli said softly. God Ye nodded his head. Among those of the same age, this Lin Qing can be considered outstanding. Unfortunately, he ran into Yi Yan. You make it sound like you're very powerful, Lu Xian couldn't help but say. God Yi turned to look at Lu Xian and said faintly, Xian, now that you're my girlfriend, you should understand that you must listen to me and never question my decisions. Do you understand? Since it's your first time, I'll let it go. Don't make the same mistake again. Lu Xian was so angry that she laughed. Who said I want to be your girlfriend? Everyone saw it just now. I know you're a little shy, so I don't blame you. I understand. It's so beautiful. Don't talk. Lu Xian was speechless. At the scene, Lin Cheng's battle energy had reached its peak. He was ready to unleash his ultimate move. Yi Yan. This is my own creation. Prepare for the baptism. Oh. You can even create your own. Yi Yan was slightly surprised. Self-creation wasn't a joke. It might even cause him to explode to death. It seemed like Lin Cheng was indeed capable. Lin Cheng said nothing and suddenly pressed his palms together. Paw! A shockwave spread out from his hands, and a strong wind howled. Thunder and lightning crackled and rumbled as he sensed the world around him. With my life, I punish the evil spirit. Your efforts are futile. Call for me again. Divine Book 101, Death Song. The entire place was silent. Especially on the side of the Shin Academy. Because the Divine Book only had 100 chapters at most, this Lin Cheng actually created 101 chapters. How could this not be shocking? The Divine Book was written by someone above the supreme level. It was the Shin Academy's strongest attack. The higher the number, the more powerful it was. After Yi Hua saw it, he frowned slightly. This Divine Book was indeed not bad. Qing Yutong felt that this Shin Academy was very similar to the heavenly ceiling ghost chart that she encountered in Water City back then. They were both very powerful Tao techniques. It should be Tao techniques, but she didn't really understand. However, in the entire team, it seemed like no one knew this Tao technique. Therefore, Yi Hua allowed Yi Yan and Yi Lu to go to the Deity Academy to study. At the scene, countless golden rays of light condensed around Yi Yan. Every single golden ray of light brought along a terrifying aura. Yi Yan slightly narrowed his eyes and waved his folding fan. Lin Cheng, you are indeed not bad. I have to praise you. Yi Yan really wanted to praise Lin Cheng. He wasn't joking because Lin Cheng really created his own technique. On the basis of the Divine Book, he added his own technique. This idea was indeed not bad. His talent was also very shocking. Praise me. I don't need your praise. Lin Cheng said coldly. Beads of sweat had already appeared on his forehead. It was clear that this technique was a bit strenuous for him. Yi Yan lightly laughed. This song shouldn't be finished yet, right? Lin Cheng's gaze darkened. It was clear that Yi Yan was right. After the Divine Book 90 chapters, the song requires a lot of time and the number of words is quite high. The power of your death song is indeed not bad, but it is still not the peak. If this song is not perfected, it won't work. However, I was thinking, it's not that you don't want to, it's that you can't do it. Look at you now, you are already very tired. Hearing Yi Yan's words, Lin Cheng's expression didn't look good because Yi Yan had hit the nail on the head. It was because the power was too great that he couldn't completely sing it. Chapter 1296. Everyone in the audience. He had thought that Lin City would be a dark horse by hiding his strength. But the situation had changed. The death song Lin Cheng used was extremely powerful, unprecedented in deity institution as well. However, the unsung music of the Holy Book. This was unprecedented. But Yi Yan did it. Yi Yan. Worthy of being deity institution's trump card. You've shown us what a true genius is. The referee's impassioned words made the atmosphere even more fiery. The audience cheered, but in Lin Cheng's ears, these cheers sounded like mocking laughter. Yi Hua looked at his son. Receiving such cheers from his son is indeed a great honor. Not only Yi Hua, even Qingye felt that there was light on her face. The pride of a son is the pride of a parent. This kind of feeling is truly not bad. This fellow has grown quite a bit. Dong Huangli looked at her brother Yi Yan and said lightly. God Yi nodded in agreement. The Divine Book music of the Divine Academy is not an ordinary dharma. It's not bad that it doesn't need to be sung. You make it sound like you're very powerful. Lu Xian couldn't help but ridicule. God Yi narrowed his eyes slightly and said calmly, Xian, you're going to be my wife from now on. Watch your words. I don't want this to happen a third time. It seemed that God Yi had indeed inherited Yi Hua's domineering nature. Back then, Yi Hua had also treated Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji like this. It was just that later on, the situation became a bit better. Lu Xian was very unhappy. She had never seen such a shameless man. Who wants to be your wife? You must be really arrogant. At this moment, Lin Cheng was panting heavily, his eyes filled with rage. This Yi Yan. He didn't even need to chant. Just this alone made him much stronger than him. Don't look down on me. Don't forget. Space Split is only chapter 89. You can't block my death song. Lin Cheng roared angrily at the sky. The veins on his temples looked as if they were about to burst. Those who did not know better would think that they had some kind of blood feud to make such a big fuss. The golden radiance around Yi Yan moved out with destruction. Immediately, the radiance was so bright that people couldn't help but raise their hands to block it. Bang 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 bang. All of the golden radiance exploded. Yi Yan's surroundings were filled with smoke and mist. Everyone didn't know what was happening and could only stare at Yi Yan closely. That power just now was extraordinary. Could Yi Yan resist it? However, Yi Yan didn't use any other defenses just now. Did he give up? Yi Hua, Qingye, and the others expressed that they were very calm. How can our son be defeated so easily? Even if he stood still, he could still use his physical body to defend. As for why he used a defensive move, Yi Hua thought to himself. My son knows how to act cool now. He really didn't let go of any opportunity. Seeing that we are from the same sect, you should just admit defeat and get down from the stage. Yi Yan said faintly. In actuality, he didn't really want to hurt Lin Cheng. After all, this fellow only wanted to win against me. All these years, Lin Cheng had been diligently training and didn't play any tricks. A person who only wanted to win against me in battle, this kind of person can still be counted as a man. You want me to admit defeat? The muscles on Lin Cheng's face began to tremble, and his entire body seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. However, the aura that Lin Cheng was emitting started to rise again. This caused Yi Yan to be a bit surprised. If not for my existence, this Lin Cheng would be the brightest star in the world. What a pity, after I appeared, this star dimmed down. Perhaps, this is fate. Lin Cheng, there is no benefit in winning against me. Even if there isn't. I also want to win against you. As long as I can win against you, I am willing to do anything. Lin Cheng roared furiously. Do Qi surged out from all of his body and formed a light pillar that charged into the clouds. The black clouds seemed to have been pierced through, and a heavenly eye appeared. The entire audience cried out in surprise. What is this situation? Could it be that this Lin Cheng still has a big move? Yi Yan slightly wrinkled his brows as he kept the folding fan in his hand and shouted out gravely, Lin Cheng. Are you crazy? Ha ha ha. I am crazy. I am not crazy, I want to win against you. I want to be number one. Lin Cheng shouted out loudly. His strength actually rose from Do Zone to Do Di. Chapter 1297. Right at this moment, Yi Hua said faintly, this Lin Cheng is a good seedling. After hearing that, Qing Yutong asked curiously, brother-in-law, do you have any thoughts? It's nothing, I'm just saying that. Although this person is a good sapling, his desire to win is too strong, to the extent that he didn't even hesitate to use all of his Do Qi. I'm afraid that in the future. Yi Hua was a little regretful. After all, this method of doing things was completely meaningless, and this child called Lin Qing had already been blinded by his own desire to win. Qian Yuqing sighed. Youngsters nowadays were always like this. Yeah, youngsters are too impatient. That was what Yi Hua and Qian Yuqing were thinking. However, the majority of the people that were present felt that this was what a real battle was, and this was what made everyone's blood boil. Let's not waste any more words, we'll just do it. Lin Qing, although I don't really like you, your actions will only make me look down on you even more. Yi Yan said solemnly. He was clearly out of energy, but he still acted like he wanted to die with me. I was really annoyed. Lin Cheng's eyes were already bloodshot. He couldn't control his powerful battle energy right now. His entire body felt like it was about to explode. Look down on me. Yi Yan, I look down on you. You're always sloppy and ignorant. Why does everyone fancy you and not me? How is my forest city inferior to you? When you were kissing the girl, I was working hard on my cultivation. When you broke up with the girl, I was also working hard on my cultivation. I didn't dare to slack off. My strength is the result of my hard work. As for you, Yi Yan, what have you worked so hard for? When everyone heard this, they fell silent. This might sound unfair, but it was an unfair thing. No matter how hard you worked, you couldn't compare to someone who was born invincible. Yi Yan looked at Lin Qing. He didn't expect Lin Qing to have such an idea. How can you understand my hard work? Yi Yan clenched his fists and shouted, as if he was going to reveal the inside story that no one knew about. Yi Hua and Qingye looked at their son and were very curious about what their son was going to say. All of the subordinates felt that little sovereign must have suffered a lot these few years, and it was the kind of suffering that they themselves would not be able to experience. The children were so pitiful. Seeing Yi Yan's reaction, Lin Qing was stunned. Looking at Yi Yan's serious expression, could it be that he had guessed wrong? Could it be that he was also training hard? Yi Yan shouted coldly, how do you know the pain I'm suffering? You guys always say that I, Yi Yan, don't need to cultivate to be so powerful, but do you know the determination behind it? Everyone swallowed their saliva. Sure enough, every genius was built with sweat. Forest City. Have you experienced the feeling of insomnia at night? Lin Qing. At this moment, Donghuang Baiji said tenderly, Yan, this child's heart is still good. That's right, fortunately, he didn't become like that, he. This sentence was very obviously directed at Yi Hua. Yi Hua didn't pay attention to Yi Hua, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. How could these women possibly understand Yi Yan's intentions? This child is not bad, I like him. Not only did Yi Hua understand, every single one of the 7 great sins understood that little sovereign was intentionally not killing Lin Qing because he wanted to attract hatred. If that were to happen, Lin Qing would definitely be affected and become Yi Yan's strong enemy in the future. Indeed, when Lin Qing, who was lying in the pit, heard the cheers coming from outside, his eyes became lifeless. However, his hands were still tightly clenched. Unwillingness, anger, hatred, all of the negative emotions were lingering in Lin Cheng's mind. If Lin Qing doesn't have the right person to guide him, he will definitely walk towards darkness in the future. However, all of this was within Yi Yan's plan. I, Yi Yan, am a man of Yi family. How can I be someone that you can kill whenever you want to? Not killing you today is already the greatest kindness that I have shown you. Don't let this kindness become worthless, properly enjoy your life, don't make any more pointless struggles. Perhaps, the next time we meet, it might really be the day that you die. It's my turn to go on stage. Dong Huangli raised both of her hands and did a set of broadcast calisthenics. Dong Huangli was a bit nervous in her heart. After all, her father and mother are watching her. I have to perform well. Chapter 1298. Ali is going to appear. Donghuang Baiji said happily. It has been a long time since I last looked after my daughter. Right now, my daughter is a slim and elegant lady. Qin Yutong teased, do you guys think that Ali has a boyfriend? I don't think so. Qin Yi said lightly. Yihua pursed his lips. My daughter's personal problem is also a headache for me. I wonder if there is a man who is worthy of Ali and Lu. It is still fine if it is a boy, but it is more troublesome for a daughter. After all, she is going to marry out. Just thinking about it makes me feel uncomfortable. On the stage, Donghuang Li's beautiful figure had already walked out. Of course, Mu Gao's disciple was also there. Mu Gao was 3 years older than Donghuang Li. When he first met Donghuang Li, he fell in love with her. Speaking of Mu Gao, he doesn't look very handsome, he is considered normal, but he gives off a very honest feeling. He isn't very strong, he only has the strength of a king realm fighter. Compared to a genius, he is very far behind. Mu Gao looked at Donghuang Li and felt that, if I don't say it out today, I might see it in the future. Just now, God Ye's confession succeeded, I should try it out too. In actuality, after so many years, Donghuang Li and Mu Gao's relationship was that of ordinary friends. When they met, they would chat a bit, but they weren't close friends. The main reason was that Mu Gao didn't dare to chat, and Donghuang Li wasn't interested either. Everyone. This is the internal battle of Broken Line's sect, Donghuang Li. She is the trump card of Broken Line's sect, and Mu Gao is also a rising star of Broken Line's sect. Let us wait and see. This will be a hot-blooded battle, or a one-sided battle. Along with the host's words, everyone in the audience laughed. He really doesn't give any face at all. Qian Yuqing said curiously, why do I feel that this boy seems to be interested in Ali? Along with what Qian Yuqing said, Donghuang Baiji also watched seriously. That seems to be the case. Qin Ye muttered. Qin Yutong pursed her lips, this boy called Mu Gao looks honest, I reckon that he isn't Ali's type. Yihua didn't say anything. In his heart, he felt that this kind of boy wasn't worthy of his daughter. In terms of imposing manner, the difference between the two of them was too big. Looking at that expression, it seems like he wants to say something, but doesn't dare to say anything. If a man did not have courage, then he would have nothing to speak of. Senior brother Mu, you must be careful. Donghuang Li said with a joking tone. Towards Mu Gao, Donghuang Li doesn't have any enmity towards Mu Gao. It's fine for me to just casually beat Mu Gao up. Besides, my parents are still watching. Mu Gao swallowed his saliva. He was so nervous that his palms were sweating, and he couldn't say a word. Donghuang Li was confused for a moment, then took the initiative to attack. Donghuang Li punched out. Ladies and gentlemen. Donghuang Li moved. This speed. As expected of the Meridian Break sex trump card. Even I can't see through it. When Yihua heard this, he became unhappy. It is normal for you to not be able to see it, but if you are able to see it, then that is abnormal. Boom! A gust of strong wind was emitted, causing Mu Gao's hair and clothes to flutter wildly. What are you doing? Donghuang Li asked confusedly. Donghuang Li's fist was right in front of Mu Gao. I. Mu Gao didn't have the heart to fight at all. Donghuang Li leaped backwards and slightly wrinkled her eyebrows. Father and mother are still watching, what are you trying to do? Although Donghuang Li was teaching her little brother how to pick up girls, when this kind of thing happened to her, she wouldn't understand. This Mu Gao seems to like my sister. Seeing this, God Yi said faintly. Lu Xian bit onto her lower lip, then said softly, this is the type that I like. This sentence immediately caused God Yi to be unhappy. Then, you have to change. God Yi said coldly. To actually say such a thing in front of me, if it was my father, what should I do? I just don't like you. After hearing what Godyi said, Godyi didn't say anything and continued looking at the stage. Lu Xian took a look at Godyi with her peripheral vision. This Godyi actually didn't refute. Ladies and gentlemen, this battle seems to have changed a bit. Just what is going on today? Could it be that the two trump cards of Meridian Break sect are both going to welcome their own love? This is truly interesting. Following the host's shout, the audience immediately started whistling. If you're a real man, then go. Confess. Mu Gao, you can do it. Don't be afraid. Confess. Confess. Get the beauty back. Yi Hua's expression darkened. Even Dong Huang Baiji's expression became unstable. The subordinates were also a bit unstable. The one who had been in contact with them the longest was Ali. Ali's future husband has to pass through a lot of tests, therefore, if one wanted to marry Ali's man, one would have to go through a lot of difficulties. An ordinary person would not be able to do that. Right now, Dong Huangli was also not able to remain calm, and her beautiful face became sunken. Don't speak. Dong Huangli said gravely. Following Dong Huangli's voice, the cheers of the audience quietened down. Mu Gao was taken aback and didn't dare to speak anymore. Dong Huangli said gravely, Mu Gao, this is already very good, you know that. When Mu Gao heard what Dong Huangli said, his heart immediately became disappointed. You're a good person, I can't hold you back. The audience sighed. Although they wanted to see a different ending, this was considered a more normal ending. If Dong Huangli agreed to it, then that would be called a reversal of the situation. Chapter 1299. When it comes to feelings, there is nothing cruel about it. Dong Huangli said faintly. If you don't like me, then you don't like me. Don't tell me that you want me to force you to like me. Godyi nodded. A forced melon won't be sweet. Lu Xian's heart skipped a beat when she heard this, but she didn't say anything. Dong Huang Baiji let out a light sigh. That child, Ali, has truly matured a lot. He no longer causes trouble like before. When a girl is outside, it is better for her to properly protect herself. Qingye said faintly. Yi Hua wasn't worried at all. As for his two sons, when boys are outside, they have to properly protect themselves. The competition was still going on. Right now, Yi Hua was just waiting to watch the fight between the children. He was not interested in anything else. On the other hand, the surrounding people were very interested and were making a big fuss. Yi Hua leaned onto Qingye's fragrant shoulder and fell asleep. This is truly boring to the extreme. The following battle was what everyone was looking forward to. It was the battle between the trump cards of both sides. Godyi versus Yi Lu. Dong Huangli versus Yi Yan. This caused Yi Hua, who was asleep, to wake up, and he immediately took out a stick of cigarette to wake himself up. Only then would it be worth watching. Soon, the contestants from both sides were about to go on stage. Right at this moment, Dong Huangli said towards her younger brother, "Good luck. Don't go easy on me." Got it, sis. After all, he had grown up and Godyi would not act the way he did when he was young. Godyi turned to look at Lu Xian and said softly, "Shouldn't you say something to me?" Lu Xian bit her lips and did not speak. Godyi turned and flew into the void. Dong Huangli let out a light sigh. Xian, other than the flaws in his personality, this little brother of mine is actually quite a good person. If you miss out on this opportunity, you won't be able to meet him again in the future. In actuality, Dong Huangli felt that Lu Xian liked Lu Xian a little bit. However, since Lu Xian was a girl, it seemed like Lu Xian was a little bit unable to put down her pride, or perhaps, it was due to some other reason. However, Dong Huangli was sure that if Lu Xian still had such an attitude towards Dong Huangli, her brother would rather be taught a lesson by her father than to marry such a woman. If he did, he would really get himself killed. Hearing Dong Huangli's words, Lu Xian remained silent and did not say anything. In actuality, Dong Huangli rarely spoke up for God Yi. It wasn't that her big sister didn't want to help God Yi, but rather, if she didn't help God Yi well, it would not be good for them in the future. On the other side, Yi Yan was also talking to his sister. Lu, don't go easy this time. Do your best. Yi Yan hugged Yi Lu lightly and encouraged her. Yi Lu hugged her brother too. She nodded and then pushed him away. Brother, save your hug for other girls. Lu, what are you saying? Brother's embrace will always be the safest place for you. When you're sad, come and find me. Yi Yan smiled as he leaned against her chest. Yi Lu let out a low laugh, like 100 flowers blooming, extremely beautiful. Be serious. Let God Yi take a look. Yes, I will win. After saying that, Yi Lu flew up into the void. After 12 years, the brother and sister stared at each other again. At that moment, God Yi only had the desire to fight and nothing else in his mind. It was the same for Yi Lu now. From the first day she was admitted to the hospital, she knew that she would have to fight with her brother in the future. Today, her wish was finally fulfilled. Yi Hua looked at his son and daughter, and a trace of an arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. Qingye immediately teased him, "You are actually still able to laugh when you see your own son and daughter fighting each other." Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes. Between God Yi and Yi Lu, who do you guys think is stronger? Yi Hua asked curiously. Of course, Yi Hua wasn't asking Qingye and the others, he was asking the subordinates behind them. This question was rather difficult. Both of them are little sovereigns, it doesn't seem right to say who is stronger, right? Your Honor, Dou Fusher raised his hand. Lai Gu hurriedly said. Dou Fusher, who was sitting in the group, stiffened. How many years has it been? Why am I the one who gets injured every single time? I, Dou Fusher, am also a respectable person, all right? Oh. Dou Fusher, tell us. Yi Hua said faintly. In his heart, he knew that these people were tricking Dou Fusher, and this kind of habit had been going on for many years. This also resulted in Dou Fusher being the first person to answer every question. Dou Fusher rubbed his forehead and asked left and right for help. However, all of his subordinates immediately turned their heads and pretended not to see anything. In any case, this wasn't the first time. Your Honor, in subordinates' humble opinion, both little sovereigns should be very powerful. What else could Dou Fusher say? Even his Honor's questions are so thorny. Of course, do I need you to say that? Yi Hua said faintly. Dou Fusher immediately shut his mouth. Yi Hua looked at the children in the sky and sighed in his heart. Back then, when I sent them out, they were only as tall as my knees. Right now, God Yi is about the same height as me. Everyone. The battle that everyone has been looking forward to is about to begin. God Yi against Yi Lu. Both of them have the same surname Yi, just who is more powerful. Let us wait and see. God Yi looked at Yi Lu, and Yi Lu did the same as well. The two of them were actually sighing in their hearts. Back then, when we separated, we were still so young, and now, we have already become adults. Lu is truly becoming more and more beautiful. Yi Lu was also thinking in her heart. Big brother is becoming more and more handsome, he is even taller than me. I remember that when I was young, I was still taller than him. If it was possible, the brother and sister would like to hug each other before fighting. However, the brother and sister knew that they cannot fight with their full strength. After all, if they were to do that, it would be rather shocking, huh? God Yi took the initiative to release his aura. He wanted to see what his little sister had learned after so many years. A majestic aura instantly spread out. Yi Lu was not to be outdone. Her aura spread out, and the two powerful Duki immediately clashed. At that moment, the MC was extremely excited. So strong. So strong. Are these the trump cards of both sides? In that case, the competition just now is just a child's play. This is a real battle. The Duki emitted by the two clashed fiercely, emitting a dazzling light. The brother and sister were the kind of people who did not speak much. The opening was a battle of Duki. Not bad. God Yi said calmly. Yi Lu said coldly, you too. Then let me see how strong you are. God Yi stretched out his palm, and a long sword appeared in his hand. It was a rather ordinary one, however, Yi Lu did not use a long sword. That was because the two of them did not plan to use any other moves. They were both prepared to use what they had learned over the years to fight. Divine Book 3, Scarlet Lightning. Yi Lu's slender index finger suddenly shot out a red electric current, crackling throughout the entire place. God Yi said calmly, if that's all, then I'll be disappointed. God Yi stretched out his left hand. Without even using a sword, he directly grabbed the electric current and squeezed it hard. It disappeared. The audience was silent. He used his hand to settle it. This God Yi was too strong. Chapter 1300. Yi Yan looked at God Ye's move and the corner of his mouth curled up. This God Yi is showing off now. He actually grabbed it with his bare hands. Doesn't it hurt? At that moment, Lu Xian was looking at God Yi with a complicated look in her eyes. Dong Wang Li's words just now could be considered as a warning. He didn't know why, but he felt inexplicably nervous in his heart. He didn't even know why he was so nervous, or perhaps he was afraid. Shen, that child, he doesn't use his weapon and insists on using his bare hands to receive the attack. Dong Huang Baiji said in displeasure. Qingye chuckled, don't you know whose son God Yi is? Yi Hua snorted coldly, what? I feel that this move of Shen Er's is pretty good, isn't it? All of Dong Huang Baiji's subordinates didn't dare to say anything else. They were all praising God Ye's awesomeness, causing Dong Huang Baiji to roll her eyes. In the field, this was the second time the two children had a direct confrontation. Their hearts were filled with excitement and excitement. If they could, they really wanted to go all out and fight. Only then would they be able to determine the winner. Broken sword style. God Yi shouted coldly and took the initiative to attack. No matter what, he had to let his sister see what he had learned all these years. The broken sword style was a set of sword techniques, and it was also one of the advanced sword techniques of the meridian breaking sect. For the meridian breaking sect to have such a prestigious reputation, the broken sword style could not go unnoticed. However, what God Yi used was not the original version of the broken sword form. He also added his own ideas to make the broken sword form even more perfect. Yi Lu's eyebrows furrowed. She had also discovered the problem. Of course, Yi Lu had done some research on the broken pulse sect sword techniques, so she knew a thing or two about it. The broken sword form had a total of 3 forms. Each form had its own uniqueness, but the third form was the most powerful. But now, it seemed that her brother had made some changes, and this change was in his footwork. Lu, don't get distracted during the battle. God Ye's figure suddenly appeared behind Yi Lu and reminded her softly. Yi Lu's eyes widened in shock. Divine Book Music, Chapter 10, Void Piercing. God Yi directly slashed down. Boom! A huge shockwave appeared at the scene, and the two of them instantly separated. The audience was silent. This was a duel between experts. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if everyone has noticed, but God Ye's broken sword form is different. His speed became even faster. Never seen before. Could it be that God Ye had secretly modified the broken sword form? This was incredible. As expected of a genius-level figure. It seems like Yi Lu of the deity institution is in danger. Qinya was shocked just now because God Yi seemed to have really slashed her just now. What if Lu'er was injured, this god? What are you doing? Little sister, you are also serious. Donghuang Baiji was very angry. If Lu'er is injured, how am I going to explain to Qinya? However, in the eyes of the subordinates, this situation was nothing. It was a battle, so they should go all out. Otherwise, what was the point of fighting? However, from the looks of things, God Yi seemed to have the upper hand. After all, Meridian Break Sect was considered a melee fighter, while Divine Academy was considered half a long-range fighter. If they were to compete with what they had learned, God Yi had a slight advantage. Yi Hua was naturally able to see that Shin had actually gone easy on Lu'er just now. If not, Lu'er might have already been injured by now. However, towards his son's achievements during these few years, Yi Hua felt very gratified. As for his son getting injured during the battle, that was something that was unavoidable. Of course, Yi Hua hoped that Yi Hua and his son would be able to go all out during the battle and not have any misgivings. As long as the injuries were not fatal, it would be fine. After all, it was only a spar. At that moment, Yi Yan became slightly serious. My little brother didn't just play around all these years. As expected, his strength is very strong, no different from when he was young. I wonder how my big sister's strength is now. She might even be a bit stronger than my little brother. Dong Huangli placed both of her hands behind her waist and slightly raised her head to look at the sky. Dong Huangli's expression was very calm. This battle is still worth watching. My parents will probably not be disappointed. Xian do you wish for God Yi to win? Dong Huangli suddenly asked. Lu Xian came back to her senses and pursed her lips. Xian if you say it out, your heart will feel better. If you keep it in your heart and don't say it out, it will actually be very uncomfortable, right? If you like him, then you like him, there's nothing to be shy about. If you still care about other people's opinions, I will talk to God Yi later on and tell him to stop pestering you. Dong Huangli wasn't joking. For her little brother to do this today, he had already lowered himself. If Lu Xian still doesn't care about it, then there is no need for him to continue. Although we are good friends, I don't wish to have such a sister-in-law. Lu Xian felt both shy and panicked. I was originally rejecting him nicely, and now that I suddenly agreed to it, isn't this a bit losing face? Who said that a girl shouldn't care about face? When the time comes, other people might even say that I was attracted by God Ye's beauty. No. Lu Xian said subconsciously. Dong Huangli laughed lightly. That's enough, from now on, we are a family. When God Yi wins later on, go over and give him a hug. Hug. Lu Xian felt that she wouldn't be able to do such a wild thing. Chapter 1301. Not bad. The children seem to have worked hard all these years. Yi Hua had no choice but to admit that these little fellows had already matured, and in the future, they would be able to become the pillar of Yi family. However, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji didn't think so. After all, the two of them were their children, how could they play around like this? Looking at the two of them now, it seemed like they had a deep hatred for each other, wishing for nothing more than to spill blood on the spot. I have to stop the two of them. They're being ridiculous. Donghuang Baiji couldn't bear it anymore. Swords have no eyes, what if I get injured somewhere? As a mother, I will die from heartache. You're the one messing around. Yihua shouted out gravely. The children wanted to have such a duel, but not only did you not support it, you even rushed over to cause trouble. You are truly becoming more and more unreasonable. Dong Wang Baiji didn't pay any attention to Dong Wang Baiji, and just when Dong Wang Baiji was about to rush out, Yihua immediately sealed the Empress. While I'm at it, I also imprisoned Qinya as well. These two women, in recent years, they are really becoming more and more mischievous. I, the Supreme Overlord, must have indulged them too much and didn't discipline them properly, which is why such a situation has occurred. Yihua. What are you doing, still not letting go of me? Qinya immediately looked at Yihua coldly. Yihua ignored the two gazes of death, and his subordinates pretended not to see or hear anything. His honor seems to have lost his temper. Qin Yutong and Qian Yuqing didn't say anything. At this time, it would be best for us to not go and provoke Yihua, if not, when the time comes, even we would end up being imprisoned. For Yihua to be able to imprison the two ferocious wives, it could be seen that Yihua's strength was still that formidable. You! Yihua! Release me, or we will divorce, the Empress said darkly. Yihua didn't even look at her and said faintly, I don't think we are married yet. Everyone, the subordinates' scalps went numb. Is this how his honor handles the relationship between husband and wife? Wasn't this a little too cruel? However, I have also learned it. When my woman flips out, I will also learn from his honor and act like an overbearing CEO. Are you afraid or not? Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji were immediately in a bad mood. It would have been fine if Qinya didn't mention marriage, but the moment Qinya mentioned marriage, they immediately became angry. How many years has it been? We haven't even had a single decent wedding. Previously, they had been talking about holding a wedding after the conquest of hegemony. Only then would it be more stylish. But all these years, you've been hammering iron and haven't done anything else. If you wait until your conquest is over, who knows when you'll be able to? Are you letting go or not? Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly at the same time. Yihua did not speak and looked at the children silently. Qinya immediately turned to Yilu and prepared to shout, Daughter, your father is abusing your mother. Yihua didn't know what Qinya wanted to do, and he immediately sealed Qinya's mouth, not even letting Dong Huang Baiji off. Right now, Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji were unable to move at all, and they couldn't even speak at all. They could only use their gazes to tell Yihua that a quarrel was inevitable. Everyone's subordinates discovered that this doesn't seem to be a joke, they are really scolding each other. This is so scary, domestic violence, it's a real fact. However, at that moment, God Yi and Yilu did not know that Yihua had offended the two tigresses for the sake of the two of them fighting in peace. They did not even know if they could be appeased. What? Will I coax them? That's not going to happen. This time, I won't coax them even if I'm beaten to death, I'll just let them do whatever they want. On the battlefield, a berserk aura swept across the battlefield continuously. Yilu's body was enveloped by a golden light, and only a beautiful figure could be seen. God Yi slightly wrinkled his brows. Is this Shin Academy's trump card, Daybreak? It is indeed formidable. In just an instant, my little sister's strength rose by a few levels. Boom! Suddenly, a golden lightning descended from the sky that was filled with dark clouds and struck onto Yilu's body. Everyone cried out in surprise, thinking that an accident had occurred. However, that wasn't the case. When the golden lightning struck onto Yilu's body, it did not cause any damage to Yilu. Instead, a golden lightning effect appeared around Yilu's body, and it looked very scary. Daybreak, as Shin Academy's trump card, was rarely seen in the world. Even the experienced and knowledgeable host was unable to say a thing or two about it. After quite a while, the golden light on Yilu's body dimmed by quite a bit, and only a thin layer of golden membrane was left behind. There was even a bit of golden electric current around the membrane. At that moment, Yihua felt that if his daughter's hair turned golden, she would look a bit like the manga that he read a long time ago, Super Saiyan. Not bad, this is more like it, God Yi said faintly. Yilu stared at God Yi, and with a clench of her hands, a double-edged spear appeared in her hands. Flame-breaking spear. Yilu said coldly. Come. God Yi shouted out, not daring to be careless. Then, you better watch carefully. Yilu said faintly. This caused God Yi to be startled. However, in that instant, Yilu threw out the flame-breaking spear in her hands. The speed was so fast that it made people's hair stand on end. Yilu, who had activated Daybreak, no matter if it was her strength, speed, or reaction, all of them had improved. This kind of improvement was very terrifying. However, from the looks of it, Yilu was also a javelin expert. The flame-breaking spear whistled through the air and attacked towards God Yi. Even the heavens and the earth rumbled, and the friction between the spearhead and the air produced a huge pressure. If this attack were to hit, the consequences would be unimaginable. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji both closed their eyes. In their hearts, they were thinking that if anything were to happen to the children, they would definitely teach Yihua a lesson. Even Lu Xian had covered her eyes, not daring to watch anymore. God Yi didn't expect that Yilu, who was in Daybreak, would be so powerful, especially when it came to javelins. The flame-breaking spear brushed past God Yi's ear, and a strand of hair floated in the air. However, the flame-breaking spear that did not hit its target flew far away, and then, boom! Everyone saw a huge explosion that happened far away. The entire ground was overturned, and not long later, a wave of air swept over. This kind of power. Everyone could only express it with their frozen expressions. When Qingye and Donghuang Baiji saw that kind of damage, they really wanted to slap the two children's butts. What's wrong with you two? Why are you two fighting each other? On the other hand, Yihua was very satisfied. Brother, be more focused during the battle. Unknowingly, Yilu's delicate body appeared above God Yi's head, and in her hands, another flame-breaking spear appeared. Everyone did not manage to see it clearly, but they were extremely shocked in their hearts. Could it be that this flame-breaking spear is limitless? God Yi felt a terrifying aura coming from above his head. The long sword in his hand immediately rose up and shouted out coldly, broken sword style. Second style. Storm wave. The body of the sword could be seen immediately shining with a huge light, just like a silver moonlight. However, this silver light. Why does it look like ice? Two majestic auras clashed fiercely against each other. The golden and silver light seemed as if they were going to tear the ground apart, making it hard for people to look straight at them. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.